When we began to look at where we are and the goal, basically, quote unquote, for security, or, and when I say protection, understand where I'm coming from. America is going to defend its own. They're going to defend its own. We may not be considered citizens and we may not be considered anything here. But the thing of it is that we are here in a place that they're going to protect their own. And if I'm in the midst of, now, once again, many of you might diss them. Who do they call on? Us. Why? Because they understand that we have the. Now, many may think, oh no, you better make sure that it is the voice of the Abba that's telling you to go. Here, thinking you're going to go somewhere better, honey. Everything is across the world, across it. And so we cannot take that mindset, well, if we ain't here in old America, if we ain't, then we're not going to suffer, honey. Everybody across the world is going to suffer when things get into fall in line and fall in place. The thing of it is where are you in the Abba? Because that's the safest place in him. Even he tells us in 7, I believe it's in verse 7, where he tells us that no matter where we go, as long as we're in the Torah and the Torah is in us, we prosper. You are not going to prosper outside the Torah. I don't care what you do. But if you're in the Torah, no matter where you are, then he is going to prosper you and take care of you. The problem comes in is when we allow fear to dictate our move, and our actively is going to speak for us yet, because the Abba is going to speak to us and has been speaking for us and for us through Yahushua HaMashiach in the Ruach HaKodesh. So it is important. Well, do not disregard the place that he has allowed your feet to be. Do not disregard the place that he has allowed us to be in the respect of a place of, again, it is not the best place to live, but you know what, I would prefer to be here than somewhere else where the military backing is not that way, because you have to understand it is going to be a war, and it's going to be a physical war. And where are you when that takes place? Once again, let us not let fear drive us. Let's be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, with that being said, ago can be a superpower for Yahshua, a place of protection. Once again, I know many of you would disagree because you look at the people that have died. Well, I want you to really think about something. Just on the other night, on the 6th day, during our time of preparation, I believe, no, it was during the early part, the 6th day, the 5th day, I was in my office and I was just watching some things, me and my ish office, and I came across this movie, and the movie is called The Attack on Darfur. The Attack on Darfur. Now, with that being said, you have to understand something. Ghana and other places that you can go and buy land cheap, but everything comes with a price. And they were over there, and while our people, many of our people are still over there, y'all, and this is a known side by the Muslims. Their villages were burned, their women, children, it didn't matter, were raped. They were horrible. And if you don't believe me, I would suggest you go and watch that movie. Now, the brother that wrote it, he does not. It is true. So when it is all said and done, and we're ready to jump and leave, and one of the things that was brought out, there was supposed to be a ceasefire during that time, to where they were not able, the Muslims over there and their military, as a joke. They took it as a joke. So why am I saying this, and why is this important? It is important because you have to understand, wherever the Abba put you, I believe that's where great things are taking place in these places, and many people are pulling our people, saying, you need to come on back, you need to come on back. Well, I would suggest don't go until the Abba makes it clear. Because you could be leaving from a place of security to go into a place that's not so secure. People were murdered, babies, women, children, and men alike were destroyed. Destroyed. So it's important that we understand the place you look at, and it's just a place I don't want to be. Well, I'm sure the children of Yahshua thought that about Mitzrayim too, but they were in Goshen. Mm-hmm. So you got to understand your place of safety until the way is clear, really clear. So these are things, like I say, that we have to look at and weigh in the balance. Never run just because you see these things happening. Mm-hmm. Are y'all following me? That's the Muslims is predicted also and goes hand in hand to plant bombs and become suicide bombers to shed innocent blood in the name of their God, Allah. Now, it's important that we understand once again, where is our safety? We know it is in the Torah, and we know that we are supposed to live in us and abide by it. And so you must understand that I believe that wherever you are, that's where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Until the Yahweh says differently. Mm-hmm. Watch this. These are a people, they're not just growing just to be growing. They have a goal and they have a purpose. And they are growing and they're not stopping doing, they will never stop doing what they have sought out to do. When we look at Yashayahu 59:7, and that's Isaiah 59:7, let's look at what it says they do. And let's look at verse 7. When you have it, say that it's so.
And it is so.
All right. Read that for me, please.
Isaiah chapter 59, verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of malice. Desolation and destruction litter their way.
Say it again. Read that again for me, please.
Their feet run to evil and innocent blood.
Mm-hmm.
Their thoughts are thoughts of malice. Desolation and destruction litter their highways.
Mm.
And it is so.
And it is so. Litter their highways. Yo, these people don't have a king body. And if you believe that they do, understand, Muslims do not regard us as a people, period. We're not your friends, and they never will be. That's why they hate us. This is what this is about. So when we understand what the fight is, stand truly the position we need to take where we are, wherever you may be, and understanding, are you prepared? And if you're not prepared, then what is stopping you from preparing? Mm-hmm. Is it a lack of information or too much of the wrong information? Uh-huh. So it's important that we weigh out where we are and what do we need to do. And once again, let's look at verse 7. Their feet run to evil and they hurry to shed innocent blood. I'm telling you, this movie, Attack on Defer, it is one that you need to watch. And the reason I shows you the butt naked truth about it is because we need to be shocked and we need to be awakened and stop being desensitized by stuff that we see that's erroneous. We need to be awakened to really see the horror that has been done by these people. Continue to live in this fantasy world believing, oh, many of our people are still. And people want to say, we catch it bad over here. Now, listen to what I'm about to say, not to minimize anything. We get 1 or 2 people killed over here. They're killing them. Sometimes they are, it's 50, sometimes 60 people in a village. Mm-hmm. They don't spare even the little bitty babies. Mm-hmm. They don't spare anybody. It is called Attack on Defer. That's Dafur. I enjoy watching military movies. I enjoy watching war pictures. And so it was in there. And so I was like, okay, let me see what it's about. And I'm glad I did but it is a great movie. It had me in tears, literally crying because I'm seeing things that are happening. But you got to understand something as well, y'all. In and never minimize it. Know your in able to understand, okay, this is what they're going to do, and Abba Yahuwah, it be your will, then show us how to defend ourselves. Show us how to protect ourselves.
That's right.
Because once again, there is no law or no instructions that forbids us from protecting ourselves.
That's right.
The only thing that will cause many of us to get caught up and get messed up is our disobedience. Because God has shown us, He's already shown us in the writings. These people don't care about your money. They don't care about your gold. They don't care about your silver. They don't care about the elderly. They don't care about the newborn. They don't care. So it's important that we understand. And once again, this is what they do. Their feet run to evil and they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity. Wasting and destruction are in their paths. Watch this movie. All I want you to do, if you watch it, same people that are talked about in the writings. Mm-hmm. These are not fictional characters. These are real people. Mm-hmm. And their hatred of us is real. Yes. It is very, very real. Very real. During this time that this book was written, it said that there was a homicide bomber in Iraq shedding innocent blood. June 25th, 2005, two sued themselves up in Iraq, killing Iraq policemen, and in the second instance, killing USA soldiers. They don't care about their lives. They are making a statement. And I don't know about you, but I hear their statement, and ain't nobody gonna convince me differently. It's important that we understand. Now, to continue on in the Quran, Surah 106 is a well-known early Mecca surah. That is, it predates the Hira, the flight persecution from his own tribe, who did not believe him trended. They were engrossed in pagan idolatrous worship in the Kaaba, and they were doing all the rites that the Muslims do today, minus the idols in the Kaaba or the cube, which in Surah 104 or 106, 1 through 4, and this is and this can be found in the Quran. For the protection of the Quraysh, their protection during their trading caravans in the winter, serve the Lord of this house. This house is Kaaba, and the Lord is Huba or Habal, Ha'abal, in Hebrew referred to as the false god, who feeds them against hunger and gives them security against fear. No mention of a power or of the power. Are you following me? The Quraysh were willing to defend their religion against Muhammad and his claims of prophethood. The Quraysh, who were unwilling to give up their pagan practices, they could only have understood the Lord of this house. Came back to destroy the idols in the Kaaba and fight the people that refuse to accept his priesthood or his prophethood. Even then, Muhammad told them to worship the Lord of his house or this house. That is the Mecca god in Kaaba, who was still the god Hubal or Abel or Ha'abal. The Quraysh wanted no part of Muhammad's theology until he proclaimed the Lord of one of their gods. So they were quite happy to hear this revised version and accepted this. Except he changed what he was talking about. They would not have accepted it. They would not have accepted it. So for all those believing, oh, they're a peaceful religion, and and they believe this. No, you must understand where they come from. Of the early Mecca surahs. He never had Abraham's monotheistic message, as this name only starts to appear in the Quran in the later Median surahs when Muhammad tried to justify his belief to link it with Judaism. Y'all see how this history goes back, and it shows us the truth. Many people say, well, Muhammad believed in Judaism way of life. Okay, according to this, he did not till later on. Now, the true Judaism or Christianity or the mode of true revelation in the cube at Mecca. Muslims today deny that Allah was the chief idol of Mecca, known as the God of forces or the God of jihad. Remember, for the first 13 years in Mecca, Muhammad never proclaimed his message, history of truth. Bases the history that was fabricated and put in place to make us believe. Chapter 11. And let's look at verse 38.
And it is so.
And it is so. And it is.
It is so.
All right, let's look at 38. Let's look at verse 37 first.
Daniel chapter 11, verses 37 and 38.
Mhm.
Neither shall power, for he shall magnify himself above all.
Mhm.
But in his estate shall he honor the power of forces, and a power whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. And it is so.
And it is so.
It is so.
Now let's look at that. And it says, let's look at this. Nor the desire of women of leading worship, nor regard any power, for he shall magnify himself above all. That means he will not answer to anybody but himself. Now let's look at worship. Now, in Islam, women have no voice and are not allowed to stand and to speak, conduct worship, or hold positions of authority in the mosque. That is all this verse means. They lack religious authority both in and out of the mosque. So they don't have no voice. They don't have anything. Are y'all following me?
No.
This is why when people caught up in the stuff that's going on TikTok and tell you, no, we don't do those things. They won't even speak to you. They don't even look at you. Now these that are on there, they're putting that place and all that makeup on their face, which I'm not against women. If you want to wear makeup, that's your choice, as long as you wear it for the right reason. all these people are just like we are. Don't you believe that lie?
Right.
These are not real Muslim, authentic Muslim women. Do not put themselves up there. If they don't have a voice in there and make you think they got a voice. Are y'all following me? They're not going to do it. So please get that image out of your brain, because that's not the real image. Here, it tells you they have no voice. The man that she is with, whether or not he wants to. There's a hospital there. I was reading this book, and it's a 2-part series, and it's called Princess Sultana. And I was reading this way when I was in Christianity, and it was given to me by my former pastor. She said, I'm dressed in the garb, and I was talking to someone over there, and I was talking to the ladies over there. But you have to understand, y'all, what you see many times on TV and see them being a certain way, those things are not always truthful. They have no voice. They are not going to talk to you, and some of them, they're not going to talk to me, because they have a code of conduct that says we stick with our own and we talk to our own. They're not going to do that. Now, with that being said, all these that you have on here doing all this kind of stuff, yes, they throw them in the trash. And many of them, even if it's not that many, it depends on the father's take. If he wants a son, and if he wants a son and a daughter is born, then he will discard her or he will disown her. They go into mourning if it is a daughter born. It once again ends upon the husband. If he wants his daughter and he loves his wife, and it doesn't matter because that's who he loves, then he's going to love his whole family. But if he is wanting a son and a daughter is born, then he is not going to regard that daughter. He is actually going to be ashamed of her, and they will mourn instead of celebrating life. But see, these are the same people that we get familiar with, and then we start thinking, oh, these are our friends. No, those are not the real Muslims, because they're you got to understand, code of conduct is everything. It's everything. And if we don't understand that and follow that, then we will find ourselves truly being overtaken in a fault. Why? Because we're ignorant concerning our enemy. Are y'all following me? Yeah. That's important for us to understand. No, I'm not teaching, hey, I'm just teaching you real, and I'm teaching you who and what to. This is important. All right. Now, no matter what. Okay, now, when we look at, once again, strongholds, but in his place he shall honor the power of the power of many mosques. This is Allah. This is who they esteem. This is who they kill for. This dedicated to, and they don't care about killing you, your family, your elder, to watch the movie. This is quote unquote, Black History Month. I don't minimize it, but y'all, 360 gorge ourselves with information that we should be trying to get every day of our lives while it is still available. While it is still available. The reason I say that is because you, as a people, well, those are Muslims over there. These are our people. And there is a saying that one of the brothers is going to say in there, that if you listen closely, you will understand. They're killing them because they are what we call, the real Hebrews, Black. but we call the real Hebrews black. Now, I'm here to tell you, it is a movie you need to watch because it shows you their hatred of us as a people. Now, I know this is not what many would want to hear, but you better understand something. To be informed is better is better than being ignorant and not knowing. And living in a fantasy world where you believe that these people ain't gonna do nothing. One of the worst slave, don't believe it exists. And once again, go watch that movie. They're still doing the same thing they did then, even now. They're doing graphic, and I'm going to say I am glad it is because we need an awakening. We need a shocking moment in our lives to let us see, y'all, these things are still happening. How much longer do you think it is going to take before it comes over this side? How long? It's important that you understand who's going to be in political power.
Right.
That's another question. Yo, these are things that we need to know, and we need to not just sleep and just say, well, you know, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. No, things are going to happen. But what is going to be your position, stand, and your family stand when these things happen? You got to remember, their hatred of us is an ancient hatred. Right. It's an ancient hatred. Now, we go on. Now, with that being said, that Muhammad's fathers did not know is the God of jihad. Because Muhammad worshipped several gods in Mecca, each one having his own God, whereas Muhammad only Muslims are required to jihad as a zakat, special tax of their wealth to Allah to help the poor in gold, silver, and cash. See, they don't have a problem with sowing towards their cause. They don't have a problem with giving money to help, just to make us see something that really is not real. Some of them. But when you begin to look at them, you don't see that people begging for nothing. Right. Do y'all hear me? They take care of their own. Now, one will say, well, you know, we've seen how they've done their own. No, let's see if those are true their own people. Because they're not going to ask you for a dime if they're real Muslims. They just like they're just like the Masons. They're not going to ask anybody but for who they are indebted to for help. They're not going to ask you. It's important that we understand this. Very important. Now, with gold and cash, that means they support. Now, what am I about to say? It doesn't matter if a person has a business, it doesn't. Then what is the issue with supporting them with your finances? Are y'all following me? The problem comes in is many times we don't want to support and told, oh, but we want people to unite. Yo, it takes money to unite, build, and to formulate. It takes money. It takes resources. And many times we don't want to do that because somebody done told us, oh, don't pay tithes, or don't do this, don't do that. But y'all, when the truth of the matter is, it ought to be a delight for you to promote it, is going to benefit you and the rest of y'all. Whether they want to accept it or take it or not, it is still still there as a resource for them.
God.
This is where we have to mature and stop acting like, well, I ain't giving my money, because let me tell you something. You're going to use that money, you're going to lose that money.
God.
You, for everything else, it's in this time when there was a time when they said, well, why don't you just make more paper? They said, we cannot make more paper. To make more paper will cause an impact
Right.
in the long run. So I advise you, use wisdom with it. You better get you some land, and you better do something to fortify yourself, because this is not play. This is real. This is for real. Be astonishing to learn that a reference to an Indian King Vercomedes, whose inscription was found in the Kaaba in Mecca, proving that the Arabian Peninsula formed a part of his Indian empire, that this was indeed a Hindu temple of some sort before Muhammad. As we know that Hindus worship for Muhammad's time did house at least 360 deities, if not more. But the Hindu Indians certainly have a similar circumambulation cube. I think that's circumambulation of a cube. This discovery changes the entire action of, and to a great extent in history. It could be that the expanse of King Vercomedes or Vacramedes empire was larger than that of all others. The text of the crucial inscription of the king found inscribed on a gold dish hung inside the Kaaba shrine in Mecca is found recorded on pages 315 of a volume known as Sirah ul Akul, treasured in the Maktub. Rendering a free English, the inscription says, "Fortunate are those who were born and lived during King Vikramas' reign. He was a noble, generous, dutiful ruler devoted to the welfare of his subjects." That so-called Katuba Minor in Delhi could well be the king of Vacramades Tower, commemorating his conquest of Arabia. The first modern edition of the Sirah ul Akul was printed and published in Berlin in AD 1860, in AD 1932. Now, there is, once again, information. You have proof as well as evidence that these things existed. The first modern edition of it was printed and published in Berlin in AD 1864, and a subsequent one was published in Beirut in AD 1932. It's important that we understand times of things that have transpired. Why? Because it gives us a better understanding of our history, our present, and our future.
God.
All right. Now it says, now let us go back to the pages of Bereshit to trace some more answers for the origins of the Islamic nations. Already in the scripture, even before now. Are y'all following me?
Come.
All right. Let's go into Bereshit, which is Genesis chapter 25, and let's start at verse 12. All right. Let's read this 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 7 verses. Let's read. Let's everybody read one verse. Let's get one. Okay.
The Mitzri, Sarah's slave.
Who these belong to? Are y'all following me? All right. Read the second verse, please. Mm-hmm. 13.
By theirs, according to their generations.
Mhm.
The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, and Kedar, Adbeel, and Mibsam, and it is
And it is so. All right. Abdil or Adbil and Mipsam. That could. This is where we're tracing descendants. We're tracing bloodlines. So once again, let's look at this again. Nabai, then Kedar, which is proclaimed the Muslim prophet Muhammad was a descendant from Kedar, one of Ishmael's sons. Now, let's look at this. Now, these are the generations of Ishmael, 8 of the sons of Ishmael into their generations. Now, let's read verse 13 now. I mean 14. Now we're at 14. Sorry. We're at verse 14 now. You read verse 14, you're going to read verse 15, and you're going to read verse 16 because those go together. That's just one verse. Anytime you see commas, colons, semicolons, that means that is one whole statement. Though they broke it up into 3 and 4 parts, but it is actually only one part. It's only one statement, and that. Uh, 114. Yeah, 114. Because Jonathan read 13. It may read different in yours. All right, let's read 14, 15, and then go ahead and read 16 because that all goes together.
Mishma, Duma, Masa, Hadad, Tema, Ishmael's sons. These are their names by their villages and their settlements. 12 tribal leaders according to their tribes. Ishmael lived to the age of 137. He took to his last died with his ancestors. He established camps from Havilah to Shur, which is near Egypt on the road to Assyria. He died among all of his brothers.
And it is so. Now, let's look at this. Duma. Duma al Jandal, a place in Saudi Arabia called Joff today. I think that's how you today. This is a place. This is not something that is made up. It is recorded. It is historical. The truths, not facts. Facts change, but truth remains the same. Mm-hmm. Now, Duma, once again, Al Jandal, a place in Saudi Arabia called Joff today. Now, when we look at Tema, an oasis in northern Arabia. Now remember, these are the sons of then we look at princes. They become 12 princes according to their nations. They became 12 nations. The end times war is between the 12 sons of Ishmael. The battle still rages on to this young, who is why we cannot allow ourselves to be lullabied to sleep or to be beguiled by what we see now. You know, well, Islam is a peaceful religion. It is not. And then, well, the Edomites are the white people, and it's this, and they are our greatest enemy. No, they are not our greatest enemy. See, because you don't find anything about specifically European people in the writings, but we find specifically people that are following in Islam, and they are the descendants. As a people, acknowledge this, recognize it, and began to look at what is about to be upon us as a people. I didn't say tomorrow, I didn't say next year, but I said it's going to be upon us. Mm-hmm. It is important that we prepare. Now, gather to his people. Now, I want to share something with Ishmael. Now, I'm going to read this, but I'm going to also rebuttal it. And the reason I'm going to do that is because we need to look at, I believe it was in Jubilees, thank you, that the reason why Ishmael was cast out was because Ishmael was not, he was not part of the promise. Mm-hmm. And because of his ways. But because the many times people like to put people in places that I believe they don't belong. Mm-hmm. Now, this Ishmael was a saved righteous man in Yahuwah. I don't believe that. And there was pregnant with them. What type of man did the Abba say that he would be? A wild man. Are you following me? That he will be against every man, and his hand will be against the importance of understand that it was not accepted, and we cannot go and say this, because if that's the case, then how come his sons have such a great hatred for people, and the would have followed? Right. But it did not. You know, as the father or as the head, so the children. That's right. And so you can't disregard that and say, well, death threats to his baby brother. God. That, how do you say that, you know, this person was saved in the Abba when he was making death threats? Because he realized once that baby was born, he was not the heir, and that he was not going to get all that Abraham had. Thing was created by Sarah. Mm-hmm. This was never born, but she got it in her head that if he had another wife to bring forth a child, but because they couldn't wait, they could not wait on the Abba. They couldn't wait. Impulsive, impatient, just had to bring another woman in there. Polygamy. And everybody want to say polygamy is right. No, it is not. Because how do you know that the 4 or 5 women you marry, that either one of those children are utilized in the kingdom? Right. Somebody say, because if they're Hebrew, well, if they're Hebrew, they need to marry a Hebrew man so they can start a family and be on their land. Because I'm about to say, you marry these women, and each one of them may belong to a different tribe, or they may be to the same tribe that you are. Now, the land you have has to be divided up between them and their children. That means you lose. Are you following me?
Huh.
Instead of having a man and a wife, and they have children, and they have their land, and it continues to go on and on. Once again, people say a woman that talks against it, is selfish and not obeying Abiyahu, but a man that talks about more than one wife, to me, is selfish. Because think about all the brothers that are incarcerated. That's going to be free. Think about all the brothers that are out here that's not in truth, but going to be in truth, and they're not with anybody. And you got 5 wives, and they don't have. I don't think anybody gonna like that, but it's the truth anyway. You got to understand, the Abba is a just and equal power. What I mean by that, whatever he does, he's going to make sure that he's going to be just in his rulings. We may not always see it as just and as an equal root, but he knows what he's doing. And so when it comes down to it, our thoughts are not his thoughts, and our ways are not his ways. And so it is important that we understand that Ishmael was not. He was not. Are y'all following me? He was not. And so it is imperative that we understand. The Abba already told us belongs to Isaac. So this was created a person being impatient and trying to do the will of Abba Yahuwah. And many times that is what ends up happening, because we get impatient and now we're trying to do the work of Abba Yahuwah. No, we don't. You don't need harem. One ish is more than sufficient. Exactly. Because now you're acting like Muslims. And that is true. They have more than one wife. They have harems. And people think that's no, you have a harem or you have concubines. That's not, that is not what we're supposed to do. Are y'all following me? All right. Now, once again, this is what it is. I'm trying to look for. I had. All right, I'm going to. I always have my information up here, but I'll get it next time. All right, now it's important, and I say that, and I express has made up. Are y'all following me? It's important that we understand that. Now, once again, as we look into this, let's finish reading. We're at verse 18. Let's read. 18. Verse 18. In Genesis. That we finished.
Oh, go to 18?
Yes.
Okay. And 18 reads, and they dropped from Havilah unto Shur, that is before me of all his brethren. And it is so.
And it is. It is important that we understand. Okay, let's get this. Okay, let's see. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. All right. I want to put the word on it. That way you will see it is not just my word, but it is in the writings, and this is to confirm that.
And
And just so we know because in Sarah eyes, she was despised because she conceived, and it's like it's all exciting and it's all wonderful until the reality of that thing hits. She's about to have her, so that made her somebody of importance. You can imagine. I mean, even though it's not shown, but think about it. She's about to have a baby, so I'm sure everybody was excited and people was paying attention to her. Are you hear me now? And to understand, Sarah, actually, Sarah put herself in a really bad predicament. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because so many times. Now, I'm not defaming her by no means, but please hear me. Hear me what I'm saying. Yes, she did. I believe with all my heart she did. But I believe there were things that she did on impulse. There were things that she did without thinking. Reformed Sarah. Because even if you're going to say that, then you got to understand you need to know the life she lived, and you need to make sure that you don't make the mistakes that she made. Because she did some foolish stuff. And because of her, Ishmael was brought forth. Ishmael. She did. She did. And in doing so, she realized she brought this upon herself. It's not anything good because she realized she had done the least. It said, verse 7, chapter 16.
verse 7 reads, And the Malak of you who were found, that was Sarah's maid, whence comest thou? And whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarah. And the Malak of you who was said unto her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself unto her, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the Malak and she called his name, and shall call his name, Ishmael, because Yahuwah hath heard thy affliction, and he will be a wild man, and his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Unto her, thou Yahuwah sees me. For she said, Have I also here looked after him that sees me? Wherefore the walls rolled. It is between and Hagar bare Abram, and Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. And it is so.
And it is so. Going to Baruch her. You are Ishmael, because Yahuwah were against all his brothers. Do y'all see? So it was already predestined what type of person he was going to be. And she called the name of Yahuwah who spoke to her, "You are the power who sees." For she said, "Even here have I seen him, sees me." Chapter 17, and we see Abraham is made now the father of many nations. Why? Because here he's about to have a son who is going to be the father of other nations. Are you following? Now, make nations of you, and sovereign shall come from you. Now, Isaac has not been born to come through Isaac. This is going to come through Isaac because he's going to establish his covenant. He didn't establish a covenant with Ishmael, but he made Ishmael to be somebody. So he didn't take from, because remember, Abraham is his servant. It is one his. In other words, to make Abraham of an would not be a just balance. But you got to understand, he is who he is. Yahuwah didn't make Ishmael be this. Ishmael was going to be a person because this is who he is or who he was.
That's right.
So Yahuwah didn't make him be a wild man and be against everybody. That was his. That was what came out of that union. Are y'all following? All right. Now, he said, "And I shall give to you and your seed after you the land journeys, all the land of Canaan and the everlasting possession, and I shall be their power." Now, okay, let's see. Circumcised. He circumcised his sons, and a son of 8 Yamim is circumcised by you, every male child in your generation, he who was born in your house. So everybody is circumcised, all the male. Okay, let's see. And Sarah's name changes. All right. Now let's look at this. Okay. Verse 24 in chapter 17. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and that same young, and all the men of his born in the house or bought silver with silver from a foreigner were circumcised with him. All right. All right. Now, verse 1. And Yahuwah visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahuwah did for Sarah as he had spoken. So Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the appointment. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, "Power has made me laugh, and everyone who hears of it laughs with me." And she said, "Who would have said to A4. He said, do you have to watch certain things? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham was had made a great Abraham mocking. Now, in other words, when you look at that mocking, he was standing there with like he had a bow and arrow in his hand, and, and he was like he was killing him. That's not play. He knew well what he was doing, and she was like, You know, many times I used to think when I first read it, well, he was mocking him, because he, like, oh, little. No, he's mocking him in the sense that his disapproval of his life. And that, this is the thing that's going to take my place. In other words, this scrub is going to take my place. This is the one that's going to inherit what I'm supposed to inherit. Now, mind you, by this time, he is a teenager. Ishmael is a wild. So you got to understand, he didn't just become wild, he was wild. And for his conduct, he didn't care. And when she saw that, basically she feared for her son's life. Now, she said to Abraham, verse 10 in chapter 21 of Bereshit, drive out this female servant and her son, for the son of this female son. But power said to Abraham, let her his wife. He kept saying, the boy and your servant. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice. For in Isaac, this has to be openly spoken about, so that when they are being dismissed, they know why they're being dismissed. You think that's going to make him happy? Make him pleased with the Abba of Abraham? Absolutely not. Now, and the son of the female servant Isaac has. You hear me? Okay. All right, let's see. Now let's go back.